pandering.
Let me tell you, Star Wars always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. Like, this franchise is so white that it's like a black person existing in that was something. And you can always tell it's something when some Star Wars fans try to say, well, we had Lando Calrissian and had Samuel L. Jackson. It's like telling me how many cookie chips are on the cookie dough. I'm like, bro, they just scattered that in there, bro. They're okay with us playing the best friend. But once we touch their heroes, once we lead, once we trailblaze, it's like, oh my God, it's just a bit too much.
That was John Boyega, a Star Wars actor, having a delusional meltdown, blaming the Star Wars fandom for all of his issues, labeling them as racist. The critical drinker is acting like this is a pivot, but it's not. John Boyega has held the Star Wars fandom in great disdain since before The Force Awakens even came to theaters. And while many people on my side of the aisle are quick to attack John Boyega, they're also quick to turn a blind eye to critical drinker, who also similarly lashed out against his fans in a recent unhinged meltdown. Today we're going to be unpacking both critical drinkers and John Boyega's recent meltdowns and attacks against their fans, as well as the Disney conspiracy to label the Star Wars fandom as racist, and prove that John Boyega is just a DEI token character, as the boomers would say. John Boyega has always held the Star Wars fandom in great disdain. Before The Force Awakens came out, there were all these articles basically labeling John Boyega as some victim of racism. He also had this really confrontational attitude too, so he was making it sound like people didn't want him to be in the movie because he was black. He said, "I'm in the movie, what are you going to do about it? You either enjoy it or you don't. I'm not saying get used to the future, but what is already happening. People of color and women are increasingly being shown on screen. For things to be whitewashed just doesn't make sense." So the way he says what are you going to do about it, it sounds like he's trying to pick a fight. And then he goes on to act like people didn't want to see him in the movie because he's black. It's almost like he thinks he's the only black character to appear in a Star Wars movie. And then he also throws in women there too, which doesn't really have anything to do with the conversation. But come on, Princess Leia is the focal point of The New Hope. He's making it sound like the Star Wars fandom is offended that there's a black guy, on a TV screen. And the funny part is that if you're somebody especially who grew up with, the prequel trilogy, when you think of a clone trooper or a stormtrooper in your head, you're kind of imagining like a Maori guy. And yet for some reason John Boyega is making it sound like the Star Wars fandom wanted him to be white. But the truth is, Star Wars fans don't care about that. With regards to the actors in the sequel trilogy, it doesn't matter if you're black, Asian, or white. We hate you all. Now, something I touched on briefly at the beginning of the video is I do believe that there was a conspiracy by Disney to try and paint the Star Wars fandom as racist. You might be wondering why they would do that, and I think they were trying to sort of cultivate a new audience. They wanted new customers. So before The Force Awakens hit theaters, there was this huge media frenzy which caught up John Boyega. So just look at this CNN article, for example, which claimed that the actor was fighting against racism. So you might be wondering, what was the proof of racism against John Boyega? Did any celebrities, commentators, or political figures insult him based off of his race? No, they just said that there were racist comments in a YouTube video. They didn't even show you what those racist comments were. You just had to kind of click on the video and find the racist comments yourself. So the video's currently got 29,000 comments, and we know that the comment section of any video is going to be full of bots, edgelords, and anonymous trolls. So sure, maybe somebody said something racist here or there, but what are they going to do next? Cite 4chan as proof that there's racism on the internet? Now the dirty part here is that this blanket statement that there's racist comments is kind of hard to disprove. I mean, first off, that's kind of a subjective term, is what's racist and what's not. Again, dealing with the high volume, you're bound to find something. And so John Boyega is basically like Don Quixote, fighting against these windmills thinking they're giants. Like, there's just these anonymous people on YouTube who are allegedly saying mean things in a comment section, and that was enough for him to be paraded around as like this hero who's fighting against racism. And it wasn't just CNN, a bunch of other people started saying it too. So when these media sites start quoting each other, it kind of starts to seem real. CNN writing an article about a YouTube comment section is extremely trivial, and I don't think it's a coincidence. And while I don't have any proof, I believe that Disney wanted CNN, Time, and all these other news sites to write articles about this. I think that Disney was actually using John Boyega's race to market the film. Look at this promotional poster of Star Wars Episode 7. John Boyega's character is very prominent here. But then look at the poster from China. He's almost completely erased. He's minimized so small you can barely even see him. And this isn't the first time that Disney has pulled a black guy out of an ad campaign in China either. In China, they tried to minimize the black guy as much as possible, and in the US, they tried to elevate him as much as they could. That means Disney was conscientiously aware that putting a black guy on a poster would actually boost sales in the United States, as they knew it would conversely have an adversarial effect in China. It seems very clear to me that Disney was marketing off of race, so I don't think it's a far stretch to say that all of these articles which were drumming up supposed racism, based solely off of a YouTube comments section, likely also came from Disney too. Now, for anybody who's offended at my conclusions, you should take a quick look at what John Boyega had to say too. In 2020, back when BLM was trending, he torched the Disney executives saying, "What I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and have them pushed aside." Boyega continued, "It's not good. I'll say it straight up." So basically, John Boyega is saying that Disney was propping up his black character for marketing purposes. And I think looking at the evidence, John Boyega is 100% spot on. In other words, John Boyega would agree that he was just a DEI token character. And this brings us back to his recent comments, which I played at the beginning of this video, that he feels the Star Wars fandom is racist and wouldn't accept him. People who think that he's pivoting are just deluding themselves. There are a lot of people who think that there are basically two teams in the culture war. There's Disney and then the fans. So if you're on Disney's side, that means you're against the fans. And if you hate Disney, that means you love the fans. In reality, you could hate the fandom and also hate Disney. And to show you what I mean, let me play this clip from the Critical Drinker.
John Boyega has recently voiced his thoughts on how his character Finn was treated, and he apparently blamed Star Wars fans for it. Like, I feel like we've somehow circled back. Like, this guy has been on the ultimate character arc where he's just gone in a big circle. You know, he blamed the fans.
He used to blame Disney, and now he's blaming the fans. Like,
yeah, so around about 2020, he blamed Disney for, like, you know, minimizing his character, even minimizing him literally on posters when they were marketing the movie in China, and giving him nothing to do, giving him all the nuance to Daisy Ridley and to Adam Driver's characters. And now he's circled back towards blaming the fans again for being racist because they couldn't stand to see a black man, you know, do some cool stuff in Star Wars.
So here they're making it sound like John Boyega's pivoting and he's changing sides because now he's hating the fans. But the thing is he actually just despises both things, and he's blaming everybody for all of his problems. He's blaming the Disney executives, the ones in charge of marketing. He's blaming the writers, you know, maybe the director. And he's also blaming the Star Wars fandom too. He kind of sees it as the Star Wars fandom didn't want a black character, so because they didn't want that, then the executives ended up pushing him aside. That's sort of how he sees it. So it's a little bit of both. Something I mentioned at the beginning of this video is that the Critical Drinker is just a different side of the same coin as John Boyega. The Drinker also lashed out at his fans recently, and he couldn't take responsibility. He just wanted to blame everybody else. So he made this movie. It was called Rogue Elements, and it wasn't well received by the viewers at all. A lot of people really disliked it. And there were a lot of reasons for that. One is that the main protagonist was, you know, just the most insufferable girl boss, and many of the characters also felt bland. The story, too, was just uninspiring, and so Drinnker made this cope video trying to shift the blame to everybody else. You know, he blamed his actress. He also said it was his first day. And then the worst thing is he actually blamed the fans. A lot of people were saying, why was your film just so generic and basic? And this is what he said.
The other big criticism is that the script writing is just bad and unoriginal, like any other generic action thriller story. And this is actually an interesting one because it gets right to the heart of what we decided to do with this movie. Yes, we absolutely could have produced some crazy experimental piece of surreal existentialism that 90% of the audience wouldn't even understand or have any interest in, but when you're taking your first shot at something like this, and more importantly you're spending other people's money to do it, you're very much aware of the pressure and expectation that's on you.
So the Drinnker said that the reason why he didn't make the story more complex and he didn't make it profound is because his fans were stupid and they wouldn't understand it. John Boyega and the Critical Drinker are the same. And many people on my side of the aisle are very quick to pounce on John Boyega, but they'll turn a blind eye to people like the Drinnker. If you're interested in finding the Critical Drinker's cope video, you won't be able to find it because he actually deleted it. I think he had a little bit of self-awareness and he realized it was a bad idea to insult his fans. And I actually think that you guys are a lot smarter than the Drinnker thinks you are. If you guys saw that video, I think many would be insulted and you'd walk away. Do you agree with me about John Boyega and the Drinnker? Let me know in the comments section, and if you enjoyed that video, don't forget to like and subscribe, or...
You are a hoe ass